An assisted home ownership scheme under KiwiBuild is unlikely to benefit low-income families, according to official advice. That's despite the government claiming otherwise. The renovated, relaunched KiwiBuild includes $400 million ring-fenced for a progressive home ownership scheme. That includes what the Housing Minister has described as low-income New Zealanders. But ministry advice made public today concludes a shared equity scheme would likely only benefit what it calls moderate earners. Those households on $80,000 to $97,000, not families, quote, further down the income spectrum. So we invited Housing Minister Megan Woods back on the program to clarify just who is being targeted with this initiative.
That's where we're working through the design details, what that mix looks like, and why when I announced it yesterday, the $400 million, and I said it could help between 2,500 to 4,000 people. That's why there is such a large range, because we're working through with the organisations that are doing it at the moment exactly where we'll fit in there, how we can help the most people, how we can help people that wouldn't otherwise get into home ownership. So all those design details are exactly the kinds of things that I'm working up now and will come back with by the end of the year.
Right. Last night you told me that you considered low income to be people earning under the median income. I'm assuming you mean median household income, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the thing is, the documents released today about the proposed schemes, they say that they're not suitable, shared equity schemes are not suitable for low-income earners, that they're more middle-income earners.
Yeah, so it's around the median income that I was talking about. I did use the example of where we do have an example where Habitat for Humanity can go down to people earning 60%, but that's right at the bottom end of the scale. So what we know that the schemes are out there, Habitat for Humanity target households 60 to 7, with some as low as kind of getting into 50 and even the high 40s when they're going to 60% of the median income. But we see that the Housing Foundation is 65 to 95,000. So the
but
point
you said below median household income, Minister. Sorry to interrupt, but I just want to get specific here. You said below the median household income was what you considered to be low income. The advice that's been given to you is saying that those schemes are best suited to people who are making between $80,000 and $97,000. Do you consider that to be low income?
Well, look, the other advice I've got is the time that I've spent listening and talking to the people that have these schemes working on the ground. People like a Housing Foundation and Habitat for Humanity, and they are helping people on $65,000, $60,000, $70,000, which is around the median household income, which is what I was talking about yesterday. But what I also said yesterday is that this is all the design detail that we're working on at the moment, that we have to look at what the spread of that looks like. The further down the income levels that you push, obviously you need to put more wraparound support around those families, and more equity has to go into those families. If you're working at 90%, people that can afford 90% of a mortgage, obviously you put less in, but these people are earning more. So that is exactly why we are taking the time to get the design of this right.
Okay, but I want to be clear
to those that are operating these now.
I want to be clear about what you consider to be low income. So the advice to you is that these schemes are best suited to households earning $80,000 to $97,000. Now, that's way above the median income in some cases. So what do you consider to be low income?
Well, that's a question you asked me, and I said you asked me yesterday, and I said I considered low income to be below the median income.
Right. So then the difficulty you have is all the advice that I can see that you've released today says that at that level, the scheme doesn't work best. It works better for middle income people. So will this shared ownership scheme be another middle class housing scheme?
No, and this is why we're working very closely with organisations like Habitat for Humanity and the Housing Foundation, people that are out there doing this at the moment. It's not theoretical. They've got schemes that are operating at this level, and why we're seeing how it is that actually we can push further to the median income and below for some people to help them as well. Because these are people that are currently excluded from home ownership. And when we look at Habitat for Humanity, that they're working with people very much around that median median income and below, and they have a 92% completion rate of families that are in that scheme, but there is a lot of wraparound support that goes with it.
Yeah, so there are other factors involved in that because, again, the advice given to you was that housing providers that you approached about shared ownership schemes told the government that KiwiBuild houses were too expensive to make that kind of scheme work. So are you going to reduce the costs of KiwiBuilds? I mean, how low can you go?
Well, when you look at a scheme like Habitat for Humanity, part of it is actually sweat equity that goes into it as well, that the people that move into the house actually help with the build of it. So there is ways of reducing the cost as well. But Lisa, we can't get ahead of ourselves here because this is exactly the conversations that we're having. That is initial advice that was released. We're working very closely with the organisations that are currently successfully doing this. So having conversations around exactly what income point is premature. That is the work we're doing, and we know what is working on the ground with these organisations.
The reason I want to explore this is because all the advice that seems to be given to you that has been released suggests that, you're flying in the face of that advice by saying that this will help low-income families into houses. So, I mean, how realistic is this?
Oh, look, absolutely realistic because it's happening at the moment. We have organisations out there that are doing it. We have the Housing Foundation that are working with people with a household income between $65,000 and $95,000.
With less costly houses than KiwiBuild properties.
Yeah, and look, no one ever said these were all going to be KiwiBuild properties. That was not part of it. I mean, in some parts of New Zealand, this will be about existing housing stock. There will be parts of New Zealand where it doesn't make sense to build a house because actually there's houses on the market that are more affordable than you can build a new house for.
Okay.
So there's a range of factors that have to be taken into account, and I think it's really important not to get ahead of this because we have said that we have to do exactly this kind of design work. It's going to look different in different parts of the country.
So another thing that was said in the advice is if you wish to go lower on the income spectrum, that is get low-income families into these kinds of arrangements, it is going to be at a much higher cost to the Crown. So is $400 million enough to make this work?
Well, one of the interesting things that the conversation that we had with Habitat for Humanity that are working right down to 60% of median income, that even at that level they have a 10-year recycle rate on that work. So they put a family into a home, it's a rent-to-own scheme, they work intensively with them, it's about getting them budget ready, it's doing that, but the money can be recycled in 10 years. So yes, I do have confidence that we can have a spread of people that are helped through this and that it all fits within the envelope of $400 million.